where the take shape, thought find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. She is a biological and holistic dentist, is an accredited dentist and graduate of Harvard School of Dental Medicine. Other than Miss Yasmin Chebbi. Welcome, Miss Yasmin on Abstract Essay. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Great. Thank you for having me. My name is Dr. Yasmin Chebbi, and I'm a biological dentist. I practice in the Boston area as well as in Abu Dhabi in the Emirates. I focus a lot on the mouth-body connection, particularly on healing any oral contributors to systemic disease.
Wow. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Miss Yasmin Shari. Thank you. And today let's talk about what your mouth says about your body. The diagnosis window, we often describe the mouth as a window to the body. If we could give someone a simple 2 minute self check they could do in the mirror right now to spot a potential red flag, what would they look for?
Sure. So the mouth says a lot about the body in many different ways. One thing that we could be looking at as inflammation. Inflammatory markers in the mouth could be reflective of inflammation in the rest of the body. And as we know, inflammation can be a contributor to chronic disease and poor health. So, one things that we would look at is our gum health. Gums, for example, should be nice and pink and pretty firm to the touch. If you see that your gums are red and inflamed, they bleed easily, they feel puffy or sore, that's an indication of having inflammation in the gums. And that could be an indication of also having inflammation in the rest of the body. Another check we like to look at is airway health. So the mouth can tell us a lot about how you are breathing, specifically how you are breathing during sleep. And one thing to look at there is we can take a look at our tongue health. If our tongue looks like it has indentations, what we call a scallop tongue, it means it probably isn't fitting properly in the mouth, which means that it could be leading to airway issues. You can see your tonsils from the back of your throat in your mouth, and if those are large, that's an indication of inflammation or not being able to breathe properly as well. We can also be taking a look at the teeth. If the teeth look like they are crowded or uneven, one is higher than the other, it could mean that the rest of the body, the spine, the hips, the knees, the feet, might also not be aligned properly as well. So even by looking at crowded teeth, we can maybe guess if someone is having knee pain or shoulder pain because it's all related. Same thing if we look underneath the tongue and we feel like it's a tight tongue called a tongue tie. That could also be a system or an area of tension that also can go throughout the fascia of the rest of the body.
Very well said, Miss Yasmin or Dr. Yasmin. Dentistry and medicine have historically operated in silos. In your ideal world, how would a routine dental checkup integrate with a patient's primary care, and what's the biggest barrier to making that happen?
Yeah, so historically, dentistry and medicine have been different, and that's simply because in Europe, The barbers had similar tools to removing teeth as the other tools that they were using, and it was typically that if you had a toothache and you wanted a tooth removed, you would go to the barber. So those were the first dentists. And because of that, when they were making medical schools, they didn't include dentistry in there. They already had somebody basically taking care of the dental part of things. And since then, it has been separated. We have medical schools and then we have dental schools. But really, it's all one body, and integration is really important for proper care of a patient. So, with a dentist, at least, we see our patients more often than primary care. Primary care might see their patient for 15 minutes once a year. Us, between the cleanings and all, we might see them for an hour twice a year. So, it's a good opportunity for us to do some check ins. And if we notice anything that might need attention, we would refer to the primary care. For example, we are in the habit of taking blood pressures on our patients, airway screening, sleep screenings. We also have salivary diagnostics that can check the inflammation of a patient. And all of those could be helpful pieces of information for a primary care physician. In terms of the best way to collaborate or why we haven't collaborated, I think it's just habit. Everybody is busy. It's just another thing on the to do list to send another letter to another doctor for a referral, but it is important. And I think the best way to overcome that would be to have centers where we have medical and dental under the same roof, where the providers are used to collaborating together regularly.
We hear so much about gut health, but less about the oral microbiome. How do a good and bad bacteria on the mouth act as the gatekeepers to the rest of our digestive and immune system?
So, just like the microbiome of the gut, the oral microbiome is very important. It helps us to digest our food. It helps us to even create nitric oxide, which is important for vasodilation and proper breathing, blood pressure. We've also seen bad bacteria from the mouth, pathological bacteria such as P. gingivalis. We have found it in the brains of Alzheimer's patients. And that's a uniquely oral bacteria. So you would wonder, what is it doing in the brain of Alzheimer's patients? We've also seen we've also seen patients that if they have low levels of certain good bacteria that cause the nitric oxide, they have drug resistant hypertension. And sometimes it's that if we rebalance the oral microbiome, their high blood pressure gets resolved as well. So there are definitely a lot of links there. When the mouth has bad bacteria, not only is that bad for the mouth, but those bacteria cause inflammation. And that inflammation can go through the body in two different ways. One, we swallow about 1,000 times a day. And so if you have bad bacteria in the mouth, that's constantly being swallowed into the rest of the body, into the gut. And we have a colonization of bad bacteria there. Secondly, if we have inflammation in the mouth caused by these bacteria, we get what we call, just like you can have leaky gut, you can also have leaky gums. So if our gums are bleeding, and what we call leaky, inflamed, that is a perfect highway for the bacteria to enter the bloodstream, the bad bacteria to enter the bloodstream, again, causing issues like heart disease and possibly Alzheimer's as well.
Very well said. Very well said, Dr. Yasmin. Gum disease is essentially a chronic inflammatory condition. Do you view the mouth as a place where systemic inflammation first announces itself, long before it show up to the heart disease or arthritis?
Yeah, definitely. So, studies have shown that inflammation in the mouth is directly correlated with inflammation in other parts of the body. And thankfully, it might be hard to be able to look at your gut with your eyes or look at your joints with your eyes. But the mouth is readily available for us to take a look at. And even Crohn's disease can show up in the mouth, and other inflammatory conditions can show up in the mouth before we see them in the rest of the body. So, definitely being on top of the inflammation in the mouth, understanding where it's coming from. Is it a dental cause, or is it a whole body cause shown as a dental cause? Could be important for really personalizing a patient's care.
You specialize in the connection between oral health and sleep apnea. Can the structure of someone's mouth or the position of their tongue actually be the root cause of a lifetime poor sleep, and how would you they know?
So, air and how we breathe goes along a highway. It starts in the nose and then goes to the back of the throat, into the lungs. And so, if somewhere along that highway we have an obstruction, a reduce in airflow, then this could be an issue. It could be from the nose if we're having chronic sinus conditions or deviated septum that can cause an issue with breathing. But also, if we go to the back of the throat, which is kind of where the mouth sits, if we're having issues with the back of the throat kind of being a little bit more floppy, not as taut, if it's collapsing more, then we can have issues breathing. The tongue could also be an issue there. If we think about it, the tongue should sit up and against the roof of the mouth, out of the airway. If the tongue is sitting down and back, it's more likely to obstruct the throat, which can be causing sleep apnea. So, a lot of our work in the office is making sure that that highway from the nose to the lungs is clear, making sure that there are no obstructions in our domain of the mouth, of the soft palate, which is the soft area in the back of the throat, and that the tongue is sitting up and out of the airway, not down and back. And by taking a look at those things, we can help patients breathe better at night, which, as you must know, proper sleep and proper breathing at night is really important for healing. If the body is feeling stressed or under attack during sleep and they're not getting restorative sleep, this could have many different health consequences.
Very well said, Dr. Hasmin. You mentioned the human mouth are getting smaller. Is this inevitable evolutionary consequence of modern life, or is there something specific we're doing that's making us more prone to airway issues?
Great question. So it's multifactorial. One thing is that humans, at baseline, we are more predisposed to airway issues because we traded airway for vocal cords. So many other animals, they have their esophagus and their trachea are set up a little bit further apart. The way ours are, because of our ability to speak and use our vocal cords, they put us in a little bit more of a delicate position in terms of airway, in terms of choking. Other animals, they don't really choke, but that's just because of our anatomy. Now, having said that, we're already kind of at a more predisposition for airway issues. But if we look at the skulls of cavemen and more ancient skulls, we can see that not only did they have straight teeth, their wisdom teeth fit, those third molars in the back of the in the back of the mouth that most people now just remove because for the most part they don't fit. But it did not used to be like that. And we're trying to, I think the jury is out. This is a question for anthropologists, exactly why this is happening. But there's a couple of different ideas. One is that, with the invention of softer foods, more processed foods, we're using our jaw less. And if you use something less, like any part of your body, going to the gym, if you use it less, it becomes smaller. If you use it more, it becomes bigger. So, same thing with our jaws. If we're eating softer foods, if our nutrition is not as strong, over time our jaws get smaller. Another issue could be when we're not breathing properly through our nose. So the muscles of the mouth are the nature's orthodontics. They're how we develop our mouth. When we put the tongue in the right position, it helps expand the mouth. If the cheeks have the proper pressure, they help control growth as well. So if we don't have proper habits of proper breathing, of keeping the mouth open, that creates a more narrow and long face versus a wider face. And that's also a reason why we would have a smaller jaw.
Interesting, Dr. Yasmin. This seems like a small distinction, but you suggested it's massive. What is the cascading effects on the body from energy levels to facial development of a being chronic mouth breather?
So many different things. Breath is life. We can probably go a few days without eating, but we probably can't go more than a few moments without breathing. So breathing is integral to energy, to metabolism, to healing. Without breath, we do not thrive. So it's very important. Humans were meant to breathe through their nose. We use our mouth to eat and we use our nose to breathe. But when we're breathing through our mouth, we firstly don't get as efficient of a breath in. We also don't get filtered air. So our nose is very good at taking in good breaths of air. It's good at filtering that air and providing clean air to the body. If we breathe through our mouth, it's a couple different things. First of all, we're not breathing as well. It's not as clean. We're drying out the mouth, and that can be leading to cavities and inflammation. But also, if we're breathing through our mouth, that means that our tongue is not in the right place. The muscles of our mouth are not in the right place because our mouth should be staying closed. And if the muscles of our mouth are not in the right place, we don't get that proper facial development. If you can imagine, our tongue it's a really strong muscle. So it's supposed to sit up against our top teeth. And if you can imagine a good strong muscle pushing against those top teeth daily, we get a nice wide smile. If our tongue is down because we are mouth breathing, the muscles of our cheeks are stronger or take over and they create a push inwards, leading to a longer mouth or longer face. If you just think about pressures and imagine like the mouth being Play-Doh and how you are pushing things to form a mouth or form a face, you can see how one would create a more wide face and the other would create a longer face.
A huge number of people have undergone or undiagnosed sleep apnea. What are the subtle, non traditional signs, perhaps something they notice in their mouth or teeth upon waking, that might indicate they need to sleep study?
So there are so many subtle signs that could be related to not getting getting poor sleep at night. One thing that I'll say that's not a dental sign, but that we've noticed is that if a patient has drug-resistant hypertension, so if they have high blood pressure that doesn't seem to resolve with medication, it's possible that they might be having sleep apnea. Another thing, if we're looking at the mouth, a lot of different things. If we're looking at the tongue, if it looks like the tongue is bigger than the house it's sitting in, if it looks like it's spilling over the rest of the teeth, that could be a sign that there isn't space in the mouth for the tongue. More likely for it to fall to the back of the throat and cause collapses. If a patient is grinding their teeth at night, if they have these bones underneath the tongue called tori, those are caused by a lot of grinding, a lot of pressure. That could be from the stress of not being able to breathe well at night. If a patient has inflamed gums, particularly in the front teeth, less so in the back teeth, that could be a sign of mouth breathing. If a patient's getting a lot of cavities despite good diet and um, good brushing, good hygiene, that could also be a sign of mouth breathing because saliva is protective. Saliva helps to remineralize our teeth, it helps to wash away bad bacteria. If our mouth is open, then we're not having that washing capability of the saliva, more likely to get cavities. So these are all different things that we look at. If the patient looks like they have a high vaulted palate, what does that mean? If it means like the roof of their mouth seems very tall and narrow, or if they have very crowded teeth, again, that could be telling us that there isn't a lot of room in the mouth for the tongue, there isn't room for breathing, and that could be another hint as well.
Again, very
Again,
well
very well
said.
said.
Dr. Yasmin, there's a lot of public conversation around fluoride. As a scientist and clinician, how do you navigate the conversation with patients who have concerns, and where do you land on the risk reward scale?
Good question. It's a question that we get a lot. So the fact is that so there's different types of fluoride. Some fluoride is naturally occurring in the ocean. We see it often, and you can find it in fish. You can find it in well water. We have fluoride there. However, the toothpaste and fluorides that we use, we have concerns for multiple reasons. One of them is that it's usually created by synthetic means, industrial waste, and it's a different type of fluoride. But fluoride does chemically bind to teeth to create a strong bond in teeth that are having demineralization. Instead of hydroxyapatite, which is what's naturally occurring in our teeth, it creates fluorohydroxyapatite and it helps to strengthen the teeth. However, I do see patients that use fluoride toothpaste and they still have cavities. And I see patients that do not use fluoride toothpaste and don't have cavities, and every variation in between. So it begs the question that fluoride might not be 100% protective if other things are at play. If we're mouth breathing, if we have a poor diet, there's only so much that a fluorohydroxyapatite could do. Fluoroapatite, sorry, that could do. But these days we have better options, and given that we have more protective options, better options, if we focus on different types of ways to strengthen our teeth, we probably don't need the fluoride, especially given that there are concerns of it being a neurotoxin. I'm comfortable having my patients use alternative methods such as hydroxyapatite toothpaste because there are effective methods to care for our teeth that don't need the synthetic ingredients of traditional fluoride toothpaste.
Thank you, Ms. Dr. Yasmin. And to wrap up our discussion for today, you're pioneering a more holistic, integrated view of health. What is the biggest resistance you face from the traditional medical or dental community, and how do you respond to it?
Firstly, I think there is a big interest, at least on the patient side of things, of taking a look at things more holistically, looking at things more root cause focus. And for doctors, I think we do want to do a good job. We do want to focus on healing our patients, but our resistance might be coming from not being able to have enough research. I think more research is needed to build the database for doctors and practitioners on this way of practicing dentistry.
Very well said, Dr. Yasmin. And so, can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, or whatever project that you're doing right now?
Sure. So your listeners could find me at theflossery.com, THEFLOSSERY.com. Flossery, the Flossery. And we do offer discovery calls, and we can offer your listeners a complimentary discovery call to answer any holistic dentistry questions, any concerns that they might have about their health. We are happy to support them.
Yes, people, let's support Dr. Yasmin Chebbi because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering advocacy like this to rise. So, Dr. Yasmin, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
More to come, people. See you soon.